It is Y105, Dubuque's #1 hit music station. I'm Steve Pulaski, and my next guest is an instantly recognizable character actor with credits spanning films big and small. Whether it's Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?, The Incredible Hulk, or The Thin Red Line and more, he brings a gravitas and mystique to his performances that's impossible to ignore. His new film, Asleep in My Palm, a project directed by his son Henry, is now in select theaters and hits VOD on April 19th. He is the one and only Tim Blake Nilsson. How are you doing today, Tim?
I'm quite well. It's a pleasure to speak to you.
Likewise, Tim. Before we get to Asleep in My Palm, a movie I'm really excited to chat with you about, you've been called a character actor for decades now. What in your mind makes an actor a character actor?
I think a character actor is a person who performances are more about the character they're playing than their coherence as a performer from movie to movie. So a movie star or a lead actor brings more of him or herself into a role that's recognizable, whereas a character actor is more protean and disappears into roles in a more complete way. And as a result, you end up usually playing supporting roles because people go to movies because they want to see, usually anyway, they want to see Tom Cruise or Timothy Chalamet, and the character actor disappears into roles in support of those performances.
Did you set out to be a character actor, or did it kind of just come naturally with the roles that you were given and such? When did you start seeing yourself as maybe a character actor, Tim?
I didn't really have a choice. I was never going to be a pin-up. I think to be a lead actor and a movie star, you've got to have the looks for it, and that's just not something that... The decision was made for me in 1964 on May 11th when I was born.
He's Tim Blake Nilsson. Again, his new movie, Asleep in My Palm, in select theaters now. Walk me through this movie. This sounds really fascinating, Tim. What is Asleep in My Palm all about?
It's about a father and daughter living off the grid in northeastern Ohio, and they live parasitically off of an elite liberal arts college. And the movie examines the dichotomy of people trying to get by in a recession-plagued area of the country in the world of an elite college with a lot of privileged kids. It was written by my son, who went to Oberlin College in northeastern Ohio, and it really does examine the juxtaposition of two worlds through the lives of this father and daughter.
What was the experience like working on a project directed by your son? Is this Henry's first film?
It is his first film, his first full-length film. He's done shorts. And I think it's his fourth or fifth screenplay he's written. It was great. It's something we've wanted to do since he was about 12. He grew up on set with me. Often, whenever I did a movie in the summer, he just pretty much went with me and lived with me and went to set every day, which indicated to me even then, okay, this guy really wants to do this, because those were 12-hour days, and he was waking up at 6 in the morning to be on set with me.
How did the conversation go when he asked you to be a part of this movie?
Well, he'd originally written the role with one of his teachers in mind, and he was going to make the movie for about $5,000 that he was going to scrounge together somehow and beg, borrow, and steal, and he was going to get a grant also. And I looked at it and I said, at the part of the father, and I said, this is not really a part that a music teacher can play. There are a lot of lines here, and there are a lot of very dark places this character goes. And he said, well, why don't you play it? And I said, all right. And then it became a different sort of movie then, and we went out and raised money to try and make it.
One of my favorite performances of yours, Tim, is in Wonderland, where you played one of the leaders of the Wonderland gang. Was that movie as crazy to make as it was to watch unfold? Do you recall any memories from making that one?
That was a very, very difficult movie to make. I only worked 2 weeks on it, and I think the shoot was 3 weeks. So when I say only 3 weeks, or 2 weeks, I worked for 2/3 of it. But those were very, very intense days. And my wife and I, 11 days earlier, she had given birth to our second son, and I wasn't planning to leave to do that movie, but an actor had dropped out. Because he didn't like his billing. I think he didn't like where his name came in the credits or something. And they called and said, "Would you do this?" I had interviewed for it months before and didn't get it, and then they came and said, "Will you play this role?" And I said yes, because the world did fascinate me. But gosh, it was a pretty dark world to enter,
to say the very least. I saw that this movie just got a Blu-ray release earlier in January, and it's a movie I think that doesn't get a lot of attention, but I think it's so unique and different and wacky and 90s that it deserves mention too. You voiced a cockroach in the movie Joe's Apartment. I have to ask about this. How did that project come on your radar, Tim?
The guy who directed that movie had seen me do some street theater and just said, "Will you come in and spend 3 or 4 hours in a booth doing all these cockroach voices?" And so it ended up, I think, being one of the first movies I ever did, and it was even before I got a SAG card. So that was right there at the beginning, and it's strange how you can just be so lucky, and it ended up being this cult film, and I did it on a lark one afternoon. I don't even think I got paid.
You do, I think, a lot more voice acting than maybe people realize, too. Is that something that you kind of gravitated towards, or is that something that kind of just fell into your lap?
It fell into my lap, and, I guess about every month something comes along where they want me to somebody wants me to do something, and sometimes it's really, really high end, like Pinocchio for Guillermo del Toro, or I'm in this short that was nominated for an Oscar, an animated short called 95 Senses that I voiced, that I would recommend to anyone, and it was made by Jared and Jerusha Hess, who did Napoleon Dynamite, and you can stream that online. It's called 95 Senses, a beautiful little animated short, and I got to voice it. But the best part of it, I think, is the animation and the writing by Jared and Jerusha. So yeah, I get these requests, and normally I'm happy to go and do them. It's an interesting challenge just to use your voice and not to have your face and body to forward a character.
One more for you, Tim. What's a movie that you did that you wish more people saw or knew about? What's the hidden gem performance in your mind, in your filmography, that you think more people should see, or something that people should look into?
I would probably selfishly push some of my own movies that I wrote and directed. The Gray Zone is one.
Right.
It's a Holocaust movie I made. Another one is the last movie I wrote and directed called Anesthesia. I'm very proud of. In terms of movies that other people made, The Good Girl is one by Miguel Arteta. Blue Caprice by Alexandra Morse.
Great film.
Alexander Morse is also a wonderful film. And I hope people will see Asleep in My Palm by my son Henry.
That brings us all back around, Tim. I'm going to give you the final word to promote Asleep in My Palm. Any final words that you'd like to offer on that performance and that movie? The floor is yours.
I'm incredibly proud of what my son did. Henry Nelson, I think this is his first movie, and people should go see it because he's going to have a wonderful career as a writer-director, and this is the beginning of it, and I'm very proud to get to play one of the leads. Opposite another person doing her first movie, the woman who plays my daughter, Chloe Kerwin. This is her first movie, and so you get to see two people at the very beginning of their careers, and then an old codger like me working right alongside them.
We love you. He is Tim Blake Nelson. Asleep in My Palm in select theaters now. Hits VOD on April 19th. Tim, I wish you nothing but continued success. Again, it's always a treat to see you on the big screen.
Thank you.